5 more years.
That's right.
Okay, Mr. Bagley, thank you for taking some time out of your very busy schedule and have to meet with us this evening. And we'll give you the first 3 minutes to answer all the questions that you want to answer that we did not include in our questionnaire.
That I want to answer?
Tell us your history, whatever. The first 3 minutes are up to you.
I just left a get-together. This was a pack from the Restaurant Association, and I sat there and I listened to some of the stuff that was going on. I probably won't get endorsed by that pack because of the political agenda. But I sat there and listened to people say, well, I'm a politician, and they are, not me. They were saying that they themselves were politicians, and I'm sitting there, wow, that just brings up bells and whistles that, you know, we're not politicians, we're supposed to be there to serve. And I do serve, and I did pretty well on the hospital board. We've made a lot of cuts, we've cut the tax rates. We're trying to be as frugal as possible with the tax dollars there. It was an education for some of the people, the things that I brought out, because I talked about gross margins tax and how that needed to be either eliminated, which they kind of tried to do during the last session, or at least cut back. And I think it went.
Great questions.
Everybody knows my history, so. Is there anybody that doesn't, you don't know?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. You don't either, do you? Okay, I'm a Gulf War Vietnam vet. I'm a native Texan. I'm a Native American native Texan. I was born in the United States, and I was born in Texas. And I just happen to be Indian as well. And I have papers to prove that I was born in the United States. I have fought for years for our conservative principles, whether it be for the pro-life movement, for our 10th Amendment, our Second Amendment, anything that's required to get government out of our life, I've pretty much been involved in it. Since I only have a minute left and there's 30 seconds, I'll leave it open. You guys can ask the questions.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Who are you running against?
I'm running against Cecil Bell. He's the president of the school board for Magnolia ISD. I don't want to talk bad. I would just say that, and there's people here that can verify it. We were in a meeting just recently, and the comment was made that, well, the taxes, we were spending $7,000 a year per student for education, and it's actually $13,000 a year that we're spending per student for education. It's outrageous. But he's on the school board. He also made a comment the other night that we were talking about vouchers, and that I'm for them 100%, or a tax credit as long as there's no strings, 0 strings attached. And he made the comment it was unconstitutional. I looked through my constitution, I couldn't find it. I called a constitutional scholar, and he says, nope, that's not true. In fact, it was passed by the U.S. Supreme Court in 2008, I believe, that it was constitutional to have vouchers. I don't remember the state, but it was set up because they were saying that government was interfering with religion, or religion was interfering with government. But just because you have a voucher doesn't mean you have to go to a Christian school, or it could be any school. So that was a long answer to your
Good answer.
short question.
Okay, who has the next question, Mr. Bagley?
Okay, I've got one to throw at you then, if somebody else is gonna ask. You've always been a strong little person,
Yes, sir.
and you are for a person or a bill or whatever, you're gonna fight to death for your convictions. I got a question for you on that. Knowing you as a dude, if you're up there in Austin and a bill is at your desk and you are 100% in favor of it, but let's just say the majority of your constituents say, hey, Bob, we don't want you to vote for this, we don't want you to support it. Or if that was a person that was going to be appointed to an office, and you were 100% for him, and the majority of constituents say no, what would you do if your constituents say no? and you are thinking yes.
I'm not there to serve myself, I'm there to serve the constituents. If the constituents overwhelmingly said no, I would vote no.
Who are your constituents?
Well, that's a big thing. Number one, the first thing that any elected official looks at is, are you a voter? If you're not a voter, then you go down on the bottom of the list. For this, I mean, for the area, are you wanting to know who the constituents are, or what? I'll give you a prime
Are your
example.
constituents Democrats? Are your constituents? What if a bunch of Democrats lobby you to
Well, and that is,
pass it?
that's a problem that when you have 5,000 bills during a session, we didn't have that many within the House, but totally there were 5,000 bills. There were a little over 1,000 that were passed. There is no way any one representative can go through all of these bills. You can't read them. And I won't pass a bill if I won't vote for a bill if I haven't read it. So you rely on your conservative roots, your constituents, your conservative constituents to let you know what's taking place so that you can vote properly, give you the ins and the outs. You're gonna get the left that's gonna come in there with their opinions, but hopefully everybody else is doing their job to notify us, to let us know what's right and what's wrong. If it's a bill, for instance, if somebody comes in, as my conviction on abortion, but my constituents are a number of Democrats that come to me, it doesn't matter that they're my constituents, because I'm not voting for it.
It seems to contradict your earlier answer.
Yeah.
How? Well, I guess it does.
That was a loaded question, I'm sorry.
Well, I don't know how you weigh that out.
So
I mean,
you were saying, you were telling us where you stand on a lot of issues and on,
if it's a flexible issue,
Yeah,
that's
it's
something
flexible,
different.
yeah.
If it's a core principle and belief of mine, no, there's no way. If it's going against God's word, I'm not voting for it. If it's going against the Constitution, whether it's the state or the national, I'm not gonna vote against it either, regardless of what's.
that's what I was getting at, is what, so, you know, if a bunch of Democrats come and lobby you,
Right.
you know, that, you know, evidently they're, I mean, if they're in your district,
Right.
they're sort of your constituents.
But you still have to listen to them.
Yeah, you have to listen to them.
Yeah, Prairie View A&M is in the district.
Yeah.
So if that gives you any idea of what I'm up against, yeah. But you can't go on just one group. I'm not gonna give up my principles for anything. There's not enough barbecue out there.
Okay, who has the next question? You ladies are raising your hands. Okay, Robert.
You would support a bill that would legalize, well, it's already legal, but enforce open carry?
No. I won't go along with a bill like was during the last legislative session that was put through. The Constitution gives us the right to bear arms. Nobody else has any say-so on how we carry our guns. If we want to carry them open, we should carry them open. If we want to carry them concealed, we should be able to carry them concealed. The Constitution has no guidelines. It states that you have the right to bear arms, and these rights cannot be infringed upon. So if you're telling me how I can carry that gun, then you're infringing upon my rights. That's unconstitutional. The bill that was put through the last time was the same for open carry as it is for concealed carry. You had to go through the course. You had to pay your tax, your fee, your tax, in order to be able to carry the gun, and then it's just wrong. That gave you the authority to carry it either open or closed. I've been talking for years. Rob Eisler said that he put it through. It never has happened. There's 14 states that have a very good law for weapons. If you can buy, Vermont's one of them, a liberal state, but still a good law. If you can buy a weapon, you can carry that weapon, period. No, there's no taxes, there's no nothing for it. Do I agree that everybody should be educated? Yes. But most people who buy a weapon aren't gonna just go and buy one that they haven't fired it, they haven't tried it, they don't know anything about it. It's like getting into a car and driving without knowing how to drive.
Well, okay, so how do you fix it from where it is now? I guess what I'm asking.
One of two ways. You change the law that we have, so that if you can buy, if it's legal for you to purchase again, then it's legal for you to carry it again.
That's kind of what I was asking, is it, what would you do with it?
That's one of the bills that I would present. It's the easiest, and it's the most constitutional bill that we can put out there.
So on immigration, what is the biggest thing that you think we need to be doing to solve the problem?
Well,
From a legislative standpoint, state legislative.
I can't legislate them to protect the borders. We can put the legislation through for finding businesses that are hiring illegals. We can stop all the funding for all of the things that are out there. If you're not a legal resident, you're not going to school, we're not paying for it, we're gonna stop the free lunches at the schools, we're gonna stop the cards, the Lone Star cards. According to the state law, if you have a five-year-old that's here legally, then their entire family's eligible for all the giveaways that we have. That stuff's gotta stop. If you're caught here illegally, you're gonna get deported. We have to put the laws together. It was called the Arizona law, but actually Representative Riddle presented this 2 sessions before Arizona actually did it for strengthening our borders and stopping the problem that we have with illegals.
Okay, one last question. Who's got the last question?
Got one.
Yes, sir.
I know that with the current presidential administration, there's been some pressure on state of Texas as well, on how they implement EPA regs onto our state.
Right.
It seems like the president is trying to get his agendas forced into Texas through the EPA to some of our agencies. Have you encountered that, and if you have, what are some solutions?
Oh, yeah, I mean, we stopped the oil line from going through, the pipeline from going through. That was stopped. The drilling's been stopped here because of the lizard that we have, all of this is pushed through EPA. EPA is an agency that we have to deal with, but we don't have any control because it's federal. We can try to nullify anything that comes through, but there's not much else that we can do with EPA. We're fighting them on the toxic well issue. We're fighting them with any number of things that the EPA is doing here to the businesses and to the state. It's out of control. We've got our own problem with our TCEQ. That's our own agency that the governor appoints the board for that, and they don't have to answer to anybody. And so they pass stuff through, like we're fighting with the toxic wells right now, and regardless of what the constituents, regardless of what state office holders or anybody else is, or the state attorney general.
Okay. Well, as with every candidate, we wish we had more time to ask questions, but you can inhale now. We thank you very much for coming out and meeting with us.
Thank you. Yeah, right. It's a good crowd. Thanks, guys. I don't like being up here. I'd rather be back there.